Afternoon YouTube. Now in this video today I want to have a chat with you about starting your business and give you some advice. Now this video will be brilliant to anybody who's thinking about starting a business, especially a gardening business. Now I'm going to go through a few sort of tips and tricks, but it's more so advice. It's stuff that stood me in good stead as I've started my business. It's not life lessons or anything like that, but it could be. So let's get on with it. Now the first tip, and it's only the tip, and I'll only make that joke once, is it's my classic go-to when people say to me, what's the best bit of advice you can give me into starting my business, Sam? And it always is, and it always will be, it's just start it. Just go for it. Because the last thing that you want to do is to waste time. And I'm not saying if you're in a situation that's hard, where you've got a big mortgage, children, dependents, you know, you're just making ends meet, but it's a desire you want, you know, that'd be silly, you know, you know yourself. But this is hopefully this is the push you need, because this is what I needed, and I bloody dragged my feet over it for ages. I remember when I did finally psych myself up to it, and I have no shame admitting this. I remember typing out my CV, my resignation, did it on my phone, and I was sat in my van after I finished work, and I was there for about 20 minutes, like with my finger hovering over send, because obviously I was giving up a job, I was giving up security. I'm not making this into a big thing, because, well, it is and it isn't, you know, but I was sweating bullets, you know, because I wanted to email it, because then I was tied in. I knew if I'd have rung, I'd have put it off, and if she wouldn't have answered, then it would have been a case of I would have had to do it another day. Then what happens if something comes up? You know, you're dragging it out all the time. So I just emailed it, and I clicked send. You know, I'm thinking, and I just thought, went bang, click send. I was like, shit, I've done it. There was no going back then. So I rung her and I told her, and if I would have got a voicemail, I'd have left a voicemail. You know, 'tis what it is, but it got me, and it gave me that push to bloody quit. So if you're thinking about doing it, go for it. That's my biggest piece of advice, because I did it. I should have gone sooner. I should have done it sooner. I spent a couple of years thinking about it, and then I sort of lost a bit of interest, and I wish now I would have just got, you know, to this point earlier. But it is what it is. Now, I said to you about what happens if you've got a situation, all that. Next piece of advice is do your homework. Now this is a big catch-all sort of thing, right? Sit down with a piece and paper and put your thoughts and feelings, do a business plan. I know it sounds daft. I remember doing them at school, because we did some businessy thing. It wasn't a course, it was all jam-packed. And at the time I didn't think much, but it really does help. Writing down, and I've still got it now, writing down what you want from your business, it gets it out, and it gets you sort of slotting things into place. So obviously, you know, what we want out of gardening business is, well, if we're self-employed in the UK, it's probably 2 yachts, and it's a couple of £1 million, but you know what I mean. That's what everybody else thinks. Silly me. But what I mean is get it out on pen and paper. Literally everything, any big decision, I always put it on pen and paper. It's easier. There's no harm in asking for advice, but sometimes the best judge and the best person to give advice is yourself. And by putting it down on pen and paper, trust me, so do it for your workings out, for your hourly figure. That's what I suggested when you're trying to work out the hourly price. But if you're doing a pros and cons list, or why I should leave a job and why I shouldn't, you might think it in your head, but when you put it all down and you think, fucking hell, there's more bloody reasons I should stay in my job, or bloody hell, what, there's loads of reasons for leave, why am I there? You know, it does help, trust me on this. And what I said to you earlier about advice, unfortunately some people will tell you what they think you want to hear. It's not them being, sometimes, right, there's some loved ones and friends and loved ones that part of their personality is they don't want people getting better than themselves or doing better than themselves, or they might be jealous that somebody is doing something that they wouldn't do. Some people will help and support you and nurture that. So there's things that I don't want to do, and I know I don't want to do, but if somebody said to me I want to do it, I wouldn't think, oh, well, you're doing that, I want to do that, or I don't want to do that, I'll knock them down. Support them, yeah, go for it. If you thought about it, go for it. So some people want to keep you down, even though they love you, even though your family, your friends, that's just how they are. You need to try and weed all these people out. But this is why I said about pen and paper, you're the best thing. But then some people will give you brilliant advice. I was lucky. My friends, they're a bit older than me. I'm lucky in a way because they've got a mature head on them. Well, sort of. They've got a mature head on them in the sense that they ran businesses or they've been in charge of businesses. But they are brutal as fuck with their replies. I know, if you're having a bad day, you meet my mates, but they will help me and they will give me the best advice. And I knew by asking them, they would give me the honest advice. And even they said do it sooner, but it's in your head, isn't it? So next piece of advice, and it's a hard one because it's so easy to fall into this trap, is focus on your own journey. Don't look at what other people are doing and think it should apply to you. Don't look at my business and think, that fucking fat bloke, he's done 3 years and he's already at this point. I'm not saying I'm at a high point, nothing like it. But you could be thinking, a part of you could think, well, why aren't I doing that? I've got more kit, I'm thinner, bigger penis. I've been working harder on this. Why aren't I at this point? It's your journey's your journey. That's all you got to say. It is. It doesn't matter because you don't know the circumstances. And at the same time, my area could be better, just the same as I've been guilty of it. I've looked and I've seen other people, not so much on you, sometimes on YouTube, but I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's you that thinks it, and you think, God, why isn't my phone ringing? Well, this chap probably got 20 years on me, 20 years of experience. He's been putting the word out, he's been building his business, he's got much more of an impression on the town. People, you can't compare one to the other. You really can't. So don't get bogged down about thinking, why isn't mine like this? Why isn't it? There's probably a good reason. As brutal as it sounds, it could be that your advertisement's crap. It could be that you only been out for a year. It could be that the time that customer drove past and saw a gardener, they might catch you on your phone, and think, he's a bit work shy, or might catch you on a bad day, and you cut rough with him. It's just ifs, buts, maybes, whats and noughts. It is. There's nothing you could do, but you've got to focus on your own journey. You can't be focusing on somebody else's and then trying to get somebody else's situation. This is why I don't talk about pricing, because my pricing might not work for yours. I know that I've seen other people on other places where I remember once, and I've no shame admitting this, spoke to a gardener last year, and I said we're talking about hourly price. And he says it was £60. I was shocked, really shocked. And I was like, really? And I wasn't doing that in a sense that he's ripping people off. And he wasn't. He was confident. He says, no, that's the hourly price for my area. And I'm thinking, fucking hell. But I couldn't apply that to me. I couldn't go to Mr. and Mrs. such and such in Cheadle and say, right, I want £60 an hour. They'd laugh at me. Even if I put a job at £60 and it only take me an hour, well, that's a bit different, but you know what I mean. What works for some people probably won't work for others. The next piece of advice is when to start your gardening business. Honestly, there's no right time and there's no wrong time, because what I say about there's no wrong times, I started my business during the end of the first lockdown. Many people were like, you're mad Sam, but did it, got through it. Some people have started their business in winter. Now if I can find the episode, I'll put a link to it for you, but I think it was on J-Rock podcast. There's a chap, he started his business in winter and he's gone on to have a successful business. It says there's no right time. I suppose the right time, I'll give you some pointers now. If you're fresh, you're new, you're just cutting your teeth, my advice is to, and I don't advise it because it's a double-edged sword, but if you want to get, you know, your eye in, do favours for friends and family. I'm saying it as a favour in the sense that no money's parting hands, because it's always tricky when money's involved with friends and family. Do favours. Hi, can I take some before and afters? Can I power wash your drive? Take before and afters. That's what I always do. If I have a new service, my brother is the guinea pig, and I'll take before and after pictures. Now, on the subject of before and after pictures, I honestly think, this is me trying to look at it as a gardener, and as also Joe Blogs the Public, I think a bad before and after picture is worse than no before and after picture. By all means, if you're just starting out, set your business up, set a Facebook page up, get a logo, you know, SGM logo, big green letters like it used to be. That's your logo, you know. Fill the page, put your number, telephone, email address. Have a work email address. Don't have John the Shagger 98, because it doesn't look very professional. It doesn't, okay. But have SGM maintenance, whatever, you know, John's gardening service, you know, John Garden, whatever. Have something that's business specific, and almost you've got that separation. Then it's inclining you to get a separate email, so, because if you use your own, it's going to get lost, even if it isn't John the Shagger 98. You know, you don't want to be personal. You want to keep personal and business separate. So get your Facebook page and then post like crazy on community groups. Don't do it all the time, not even once a week, because it pisses people off. But, you know, do them all at once. And then, because what I think, what people like and what people see, it gets it in the brain, is it's like association, where if they see SGM on community group and then they're out and about and they bump into me in a shop, and I know I've not got branded shirt on, but with my hoodie, and they see the SGM hoodie, you know, like the fat bloke with a hoodie on, and then they go out and about and then they see that same bloke with mowing a lawn, and then they think, oh, the lawn looks all right, I've seen that SGM, I want to know where to find him. It's association. So getting your name out there, it is, and even in a way, even if you're a bit spammy, I suppose it's still getting people, you know, onto your, you know, you're getting into people's heads, aren't you? They're thinking, oh, who's that bloke who keeps posting all the time? We'll get him to do it. Now, this is up to you whether you want to do this, but this is my advice. You don't need to tell people that this is your first year, your first day, your first week. And I'll get on to this other little, I may as well do it now. What you don't know, you don't know. Don't bullshit people. So if somebody, I remember my first job, I had to trim some, what is it now? It's something that needs a certain, wisteria. It's something that needs a certain way of trimming it. And this lady asked me, it was part of a garden tidy up. And I had no clue. And I had two choices there and then. I could just cut it and maybe blag it, or I could tell her. And she says, Luke, it needs to be done this way, but in this case, it's out of control. Just push it right back. Because, you know, if I'd have cut it out, you know, if I'd have just waved through it, and she says, no, you've cut it wrong, it's bollocks to it up, it's on me then, isn't it? Basically, don't bullshit people. People are smarter than you, especially when it's their gardens. They know their garden. If you don't know, you don't know. And there's nothing worse than you bullshitting someone because they can smell it. You know, and you've got to remember, say if you're working for an OAP, you know, it could be 80. Some people might think, hey, but he's got 80 years on this planet. He's probably, you know, put that plant in from the very start, read all the books. He's probably looked after factories, you know, probably looked after hundreds of staff, so he knows when someone's telling him lies. Don't be that bloke. What you don't know, you don't know. So that's the BS part. Back to the first part, what I was saying about you don't need to tell people. Me personally, I did this at the start, where I said to a couple of the customers at the very start that, because I was doing little bits in between my normal job, and I said, oh, well, I've got a couple of days off. As soon as he heard that, they thought, oh, he's jobbing knocker, your beer money, he's doing it on the side. And they treated me as such. They didn't treat me like a gardener. They treated me as a bloke who just wanted a bit of cash. And it's the biggest mistake you can do. Also, by telling people that you're just starting out, you're not telling people you're inexperienced, but you are, because you are at the end of the day. There's no two ways about it. You could have worked 50 years groundkeeping, greenkeeping, but it's your first day on a job and you tell people, that's what they'll think. You haven't got the time to tell them your life story. They'll just think, oh, it's his first day. And if something goes wrong and it's not your fault, or even if it's their fault, they'll just think, oh, it's an experience. So me personally, I learned very quickly, and I would say to you to not. There is no harm in saying to people, not lying to them, but say if you've got a full-time job and you're doing a couple of days gardening a week, well, I've only got availability for this coming Wednesday and this Saturday evening. Okay. And if people want the job doing, they will move hell and high water to get it done. You'll be amazed how flexible people are when it's something that they want doing. Once you get onto regular maintenance, it's different. That's when people start getting picky, because if you put on them when it's late or it's inconvenient for them, they're more inclined to sort of cancel and sort of put you off onto a different sort of day. So you've got to work with people more then. But the initial visit, if you only have a Friday off, tell them it's Friday. You're booked up in between. They don't need to know, because if they do know what, they'll just think you're just some job and knocker or someone, It's amazing. I've been doing this job now for 3 years, fully self-employed, and it's still now I get people. I'll pull up, I'll have uniform on, I'll have a green van. The back doors will be open so they can see all the tools, and they aren't unintelligent people. They'll see racks of tools underneath. Like, my van's full all the time. They'll see the big mower, the little mower. They'll see me using all the different tools. Is this your full-time job? Or what do you do when you're not doing this? Well, this is my full-time. Oh, is it? And I'm thinking, you've just seen me push around a really big, obviously they won't know the price, but they must see it, but they don't. So it's hard enough anyway convincing people. So the last thing you want to do is by telling them, because they'll always treat it. And at the same time, some people will help you to raise your business. They'll help you to get bigger and better and do the best you possibly can. And then some people will do whatever they can to take from you, take your time, take your soul, whatever. They'll do whatever they can to get as much from you as possible. So just remember that. Now, another sort of bit of advice is money. Now, I'm not an accountant. My advice is always to get an accountant. I went with the gun-ho spirit of I'll do it all myself. And then in the end, I got an accountant, and he managed to claw back a load of tax on the previous year. I wouldn't have been able to do that. He did it. He has now paid for himself for about 10 years. What he charges me for my books, he's paid for himself. The only advice I can give, and I'll keep it brief, is and I said this with the email, keep your personal life and your business life separate. So the best piece of advice I can give you is open up another bank account. If you bank with Lloyd's, open a Barclays. Get a debit card off them, get the shittiest account as long as you've got access through the internet app. I think all of them have. And you've got a debit card, and I think you can get a checkbook, but who uses checks? But get one of them accounts. Doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't need to be a business account. I know, I've run my business for years now. I've not had a business account. They've not rung me up, they've not told me off. I've not got a fee to pay. I don't know what the benefit is, but anyway. So, as I said, get a separate account, and then anything that you buy from that account. Anything that you get, pay into that account. Now, me personally, I'm saving for a mortgage, so everything I earn goes through the books. Yes, I have to pay tax on it, but when I get a mortgage, or if I need to get a big purchase, say if my van blows up and I need to get finance, I've got hopefully a good chance, because I've put all the money through. Some people think about putting a little bit extra. No, I'm not judging, but just think about that. If it is that it gets to it, and you've earned 40 grand, 30 grand, and then you've actually put 10 under the mattress, you only earned 20, but you're still declaring your costs, on paper you're fucked for like stuff like mortgages and stuff like that, because you can't go saying, oh well, I have. So just think about it. So that's why I always put things through the boot, but I'm not being judged. You know, it doesn't bother me. You do your business how you want, but run it like a business. Have a separate account. Everything you buy goes through that. Everything you do for the business you make goes through that. And then your statement is like literally your book, sort of, to a degree. You've got ingoings, outgoings. That's what I always do. That's my sort of advice on money. But also keep notes of everything. I like facts and figures and numbers. I'm not into it, but I like knowing that I can look back to when I first started and see how much I earned every month, how much I spent every month, and also how much I earned in a year, you know. And I've done that every year, and it's good data because you know if your business is doing well. So just think about that sort of stuff. Now, my final sort of bit of advice is I've said about just going for it, and I've said about other stuff, but these are like nitty gritty subjects, as you know, people normally switch off well before now. But same with tools. What's the best mower, Sam? What's the best tool? It's not straightforward, right? Because there's different levels of kit. Now, I would always say get the best possible kit you can afford with the money you've got, at the best possible quality. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy Stihl 7 Series, you know, the commercial spec. I'm not saying get commercial, but you need to look for, there's a few things. You need to look for dealers and parts availability, and you need to sort of look for how far it is, and also if it's in your price point. Now, I'm lucky there's a couple of Stihl dealers near to me, so that's why I went for Stihl. Now, I used to want to go for a Honda, but then there was a Honda dealer that was nearby, but they're gone now. So, you know, if you need it to be repaired, which trust me, they do break, then, you know, I would be having a long sort of distance drive. Now, online versus buying in store, that's always a tricky one. Now, I'll be honest with you, I had such bad luck with the first dealer I used to use. He was shit. He's no longer a Stihl dealer. From what I've gathered, they've given a boot. Says it all, really. But I had that much of a bad experience that I actually said, fuck him. I told everyone with the same brush. I said, fuck him, I'm going to buy everything online. I did that, and I saved myself money. And you do. Online, you can save yourself money. But if it is that it goes wrong, and you've got, say if you buy something where there's no dealer network nearby, but you buy it online, you save yourself a little bit of money, and it blows up, and it's under warranty, you've got to burn diesel to get there, you've got to burn your time to get there, all so you can just save yourself a little bit of money. So have a look at what's around, and also look what other people are using. That's a good indicator. If everyone around is using Stihl, you know, odds on there's a good network support. You know, I'm not bigging up Stihl, or just the same with Husqvarna. If you see all the other gardens using Husqvarna. Now, I'm a bit fussy on, I like to keep all my stuff the same. I don't like mixing and matching stuff. I like keeping all the stuff the same, but that again, if you're going to go down the cordless route, and I'll only touch upon this quickly, stick with what is around you, you know. So stick with what you can get, because the last thing you want to do is buy half into a system and then think it's shit, and then, you know, buy into another one because then you've got 2 chargers, 2 batteries, twice as much cost. So have a look at what's around you. But when it comes to kit, and the last sort of point is, should I buy new or should I buy second hand? Now, I'll probably do a separate video on this, but I will gloss over it quickly. I'm going to give you my impression of it. Now, you can get a bargain, but what state is this bargain going to be in? Now, you see all the time tools where it's a case of, like for me, I'd be more inclined to buy, say, a cordless bargain, because I know that there's more sort of things that stop it being abused. Like, it'll just stall out, basically. You can't really thrash one, you know, especially if it's new, you know, you can't really destroy it too much, because you'll see it, basically. But I do think sometimes a bargain, you know, it's somebody else's failure, possibly. And with petrol gear, I'm not an expert, but somebody said to me that basically the first 10 hours before you do the first little service, depending on what life it's had and whether it's not been filled up with oil right, or it's had too much oil, or vice versa, that greatly depends on how long overall that is going to last. So you could get a bargain, but you could find that someone has ran it out of oil and it's made a funny noise, and they thought, oh shit, top it up, but it'll last, it'll do a couple of pulls and then it'll be fine. Just be very, I'm not trying to put people off, because I know other gardeners that have great luck where they'll buy stuff on, they'll buy stuff secondhand and they'll get, plenty of years out of it. I've never been that lucky. And also, a second-hand bargain, you've got no dealer support. It's crazy the amount of stuff that it's like the best one I saw was, there was a moss brush for sale, and it was £1,500 on Facebook Marketplace, right? There's 1,700 brand new, right? If you go to a tool fair, you can get it cheaper than the price anyway. And I'm thinking, you're going to spend £200, save £200. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know whether it's had the bollocks thrashed off it, or it's been used and abused, or like I said, oil's not been put in right and they've chucked a bit in. So sometimes in that post, there was no end of people inquiring about it. I'm thinking, just spend more and you get your 2-year warranty. You won't get a warranty with that. But I'm not here, I'm not saying whichever way is wrong. It's up to you. I knew a gardener, and what he would do every year, he would buy a Screwfix special, like the combi special. He'd buy one of them, and he'd go B&Q, and he would buy whatever mower was suitable from there. Mountfield, it had the warranty on it, and he would literally use that stuff all year. He wasn't rough with it, but that was his tools. He had no other spares. It wasn't like he was using something else. That was it. And he said it's brilliant. If he has a problem, he takes it in, they just exchange it. It is brilliant. And he says at the end of the year, he either gives it away, tries to sell it, or he throws it all in a skip, and he starts his year again by buying another same combi set. And that's him. That's how he operates. I'm not saying, it's something I'd like to do, but it's all up to you. But the point of it is, the point of going self-employed, it's your journey. It's your, what is it to say? It's not the destination that matters, it's a journey, However you want to get to it, it's you. It's you that's guiding your own path. Don't let me guide it. Don't let me steer. Don't let another gardener on YouTube steer it. Don't let the bloke down the pub, or your mate, or your missus' sister who thinks you're a bit of a dick but she actually potentially likes you. It's you that's in control. If you don't want to buy that kit, don't buy it. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't want to work for somebody, because they're an arsehole, you don't have to put up with them. You don't. Just get rid. Just be polite, but you can get rid. You're not working for somebody where you've got one boss. Unfortunately, when you go self-employed, everyone's a boss. You've got like bloody 50 bosses. Well, another thing before I say is, be careful with money. Plan ahead. Don't burn everything you earn. Don't get it tied up where you can't touch it if you're doing well, because in business, everyone's got their hands out all the time. They always want money. They always want money off you. So, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a better form of misery. So just keep saving, keep putting money away. And what's going on in the world? COVID. What is it? Probably a new strain of flu. War in Ukraine, recessions. Until it's happened, it's affecting it. Just plan for it as best as you can. But we've seen it now. Don't get me wrong, there has been businesses that have gone under, but there's not many gardeners that I've seen that have gone under during COVID. And likewise with the cost of living. Yes, people will be a bit more tight. Yes, people will be a bit more stingy, but they were like that before. I remember when I was first doing little bits of work, and when I first went self-employed during lockdown, when it was lockdown, and when we had the first cost of living thing, it's got worse since then. People have gotten worse now. This year has been the worst for people. when realistically a couple of years ago they had more right to be an arsehole, but now they're even worse. So don't let it put you off, you know, but just remember what I've said and hopefully it will help you. I'm sorry if I banged on, but anyway, have a good day guys, keep on gardening.